Hello America, this is Keith, your friendly neighborhood technician, coming back at you with some more wonderful information. Well, we recently had a customer inquire about why his clothes washer will run, fill, agitate, rinse, but won't spin. Now, he can stop it, take it straight to spin, and then start it, and it will spin, okay? Well, we're gonna get a little in depth about what are the possible causes of that, okay? Here, we have 3 different sets of timers, and these are all basically the same thing. This is an older school mechanical timer. This is a newer version of that. This and this are basically the same thing. And then we have our new ones, which are all computer controlled. Okay. Now, what he said was that he can drain it, he can spin it manually, which tells us that all of the major components, the water valves, the motor, the drain pump, and are all functioning. Now, what happening is, if you have an older school model, if you look in here, okay, you can see, well, let's do this side, okay? You see how this has different types of pins, okay? If you look at this will actually turn, okay, causing different pins to make and break contact, okay? What happens on these older ones is, you see that little disc right down there? There will be a disc on top of it. Every time it makes contact, there's a slight arc. Over time, they will actually burn each other out. So what happens is this motor here runs constantly. That is what actually turns the disc here. Well, if I've got a burnt contact here, okay, that means when it gets to that contact to send power to my spin part, it won't function. Now, when I take it manually all the way over to the spin cycle, the same contacts are made, but they're made in different spots on this, so that's why it would possibly spin out when you change contacts. Okay, and this is the old school manual timer. This thing, when you pull start, push or pull start, that motor starts going, and it just turns this to the point that one of these contacts in here actually breaks contact here, stops my motor. So when I turn it, it turns on. Okay, this you can actually take apart and look at. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. Because you can go in here and you can actually get a little file and you can actually bend these up a little bit, okay, and actually use a file and clean those off so they make better contact, okay. This is the same thing. You don't want to take this apart, but it works exactly like this, a little more compact, a little bit better energy efficiency, but not a whole lot. But this is, I want to say, 70s, 80s, some 90s. This is 80s, 90s, and some today. Okay, but it works basically the same way. There are contacts in here. You can see how the pins look really, really similar. It's basically the same thing. Okay, now we get into the electronics, which most of the stuff now is. Okay, not exactly well schooled on how things operate, but everything runs in here. It goes from cycle to cycle to cycle in here. All these little doohickeys and doodads, they perform a function. Now what happens is, one of these will burn out, okay, and it'll get to that point and it'll stop. The machine will just basically stop. So I can go to a different cycle, and let's say that little one there blew out and the one right next to it is my spin, okay. If I manually take the machine past this point, the spin will kick in. This is not fixable. You are buying a whole new board for this. These are realistically not repairable. You're gonna wanna buy a whole new board. Okay, so you got issues. The guy has issues. He's gonna want to get a tech out there so they can diagnose what part of the board is broken and possibly get it fixed. Now, what else you want to do is find out before you Google all this is, does everything work? Does it fill? Does it agitate? Does it drain? If all of those work, then we know our wiring is good and we know that all of our mechanical parts are good. Which leads us back to we have board issues, okay? So, sir, I would actually recommend getting a technician out to check your board out, or whichever one of these you have. I don't know what model number you have, but get it looked at, but odds are you're looking at having to buy a new board, okay? For those of you who are having issues, hopefully this helps you. Feel free to send us your questions or concerns about what you might have going on with your machines. And you have a wonderful day. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'll talk to you next week. Have a wonderful day.